What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another post-game show on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com, and I am joined by none other than Brayden Dowers to break down this Missouri Tigers football victory over the South Carolina Gamecocks. Mizzou dominates South Carolina 34-12 to move to 7-1 on the 2023 season. Drink is now 5-0 versus South Carolina, and he is undefeated against Shane Beamer since he's been the head coach at South Carolina. And it was overall a really good game. Obviously, Mizzou kind of hit a lull in the second half, and we'll talk about that. But for the most part, pretty stress-free game. Routine win for Mizzou against a clearly inferior SEC opponent. Brayden, what are your initial thoughts on Mizzou's victory over the Gamecocks?
Drink. I thought.
I love Drink.
He owns South Carolina, and he's won 5 straight, as you said, one of those being at App State. So for him to upset Will Muschamp 5 years ago now, and then 4 straight wins at Mizzou, absolutely massive. We talked about it before the game. I said that this is a complete roles reverse of last year. South Carolina was ranked 23 going into last year at home. Nobody expected Mizzou to win that game, and they did. South Carolina was in the exact opposite position. Today, we were ranked 20th. They came in. Nobody expected them to win, but here's the thing. We closed the door. Drinkwitz has never had more than 6 wins in a season at Mizzou. Granted, he only played 10 games in the COVID year in 2020, but he's only gone 500. This guarantees, even if we lose out and we lose the bowl game, we have a winning record this year. We're 7-1 going into Georgia. If you told me that at the beginning of the year, I'd say, hell yeah. That is absolutely insane to think that we are at this spot. And we could have very easily been 8-0 if it wasn't for a few blown opportunities against LSU. As long as Georgia wins next week, I think that game day has absolutely no choice but to go to Athens for Mizzou versus Georgia.
Yeah, that was a great opening from you. I mean, so many things to hit on. Drink kind of cleared that benchmark today of 6 wins, because that's kind of what he's been since he's been the head coach here, is 500, going 6-6. Everyone will make fun of him for it, or they did, before this year. And just we knew that they were going to win more than 7 games this year, or I should say 7 games or more. It was pretty obvious after week 5 that this team was capable of doing a lot this year. But just to hit 7 wins before we even get to November is awesome for this team. It's awesome for this program. And I know me and you were talking before the game about how everything just feels like it's right at Mizzou right now. And just you can feel the momentum with this program. Also basketball too, both sports heading in the right direction. But for football more specifically, they win today. They moved to 7-1. Recruiting, Drinkwitz is on a recruiting heater. They should be adding another 5-star commit next week in Ryan Wingo. Then there's.
I'm liking your tweet.
What? Oh, yeah. Jeremiah McClellan. There's a very strong chance that they flip him. I did tweet something out about him in this offense versus Ohio State's offense, which just looks boring, and he liked the tweet. So could mean something, could mean absolutely nothing. Probably the latter, but still, Mizzou is not out on Jeremiah McClellan, the 4-star receiver from CBC. But back to what I was saying, and then there's the news about Mizzou potentially expanding the North Concourse of the stadium for football. And that would be absolutely massive. A lot of fans have wanted to see that for a long time. Just so much going right for Mizzou right now. And this win, it took a while for them to completely shut the door in South Carolina. I mean, it was a 2 or 3 possession game for most of the time, but you're just kind of waiting for them to finally shut the door. And they did when Cody Schrader got that last touchdown to put them up 34-12. And just a good game, man. South Carolina was a team that you should be beating. You beat them. You beat them by double digits. And I'm sure Shane Beamer has 2 broken feet now, not just 1.
We've been saying almost all year, when are we going to Mizzou it? When are we going to Mizzou it? When are we going to Mizzou it? And really, the only game left that if you lose it, that can be classified as a Mizzouing it would be Arkansas. And even then, that's on the road. Like, you're playing a really good Georgia team who's probably going to win the national championship again. And then you're playing a Tennessee team that just went into Tuscaloosa and were up 20-7 at halftime before they kind of fell apart in the second half. But they're still a really good football team. Florida's all right. I still expect us and want us to win that game. And then Arkansas. Like, those 4 games left on the schedule, like minimum, I think you have to go 2-2. I still think that you can go 3-1. 4-0 is a long shot. Not going to predict or expect us to beat Georgia, but I think that we are we are probably the toughest opponent left on their schedule besides Tennessee and Knoxville. So, like you said, going right for Mizzou and recruiting on the field, Drinks saying a lot of good stuff off the field. Like, everything just seems to be going right for Mizzou right now.
Yeah, and I really liked Drink's attitude during the game. They interviewed him multiple times, once before halftime. I want to say again in like the third quarter, they interviewed him on the sidelines, and he was just saying how this team could be a lot better, still making a lot of mistakes, still kind of living on the edge a little bit. And it's always great when you can say, I mean, obviously you want them to be better, so it's not perfect, but it's always great when you're winning the way they are, beating SEC opponents by double digits, and there's still a ton that you can improve on. You go into Georgia not next week because they're on the bye, but after that, and you're really catching them at the right time of the year because coming off a bye, and then of course Brock Bowers is going to be out for them for about 4 to 6 weeks, and he's their best player. And I feel like not enough people are talking about that because Georgia has kind of looked a little subpar versus SEC competition this year, at least relative to the Georgia teams that we're used to. And they lose to Auburn without Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers won them that Auburn game. And so they're not going to have them. And Missouri's obviously a lot better than Auburn. I'm not going to predict Missouri to win, but to say that they don't have a shot would just be foolish.
For sure. Again, like, everything's going right for Mizzou. But, and again, like, Drink's attitude during this game, during halftime, like, we're up 24-3 and he got mad. Like, that is some big dick in the locker room. We're not playing perfect. We better play perfect in the second half. They didn't play perfect in the second half, and we'll get to that later. But, for Mizzou fans to be mad and infuriated after winning 34-12 is showing of how good this season has gone. Because, like, just watching that first half and watching the second half, knowing what this offense is capable of and knowing what this defense can do, if you're getting mad at a game like this, we're in a pretty good spot. So I'm ecstatic to be a Missouri Tiger football fan. Like you said, everything's going right. Today was really the game of Cody Schrader. The offensive line was fantastic. We cleaned up a lot of things that were going wrong. Connor Tollison, still not the greatest, had a bad snap and a really shitty false start. But again, any complaint at this point is really just nitpicking.
So. Yeah. So let's talk about the game a little bit. So we'll start with the offense. Brady Cook, he was 14 of 24 for 198 yards and 1 touchdown. I said in our preview, I'd be surprised if he didn't throw for 300 yards just because of how bad South Carolina's defense was. But it was very clear that Mizzou did not want to air it out for a bunch of yards in this game. Like, they had their big plays and they did them when they needed to. So really they leaned on the running game. Cody Schrader had a career high with 26 carries for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. He just continues to get the job done. It's really amazing because he's not very explosive. He's kind of slow. He rarely ever makes a guy miss, but he just rips off big runs and he gets the job done. And you can't complain. Mizzou was 220 yards on the ground today. And that's why,
were they? Because he was not on the field at all.
Nate Pete.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like he's just pretty much out of the rotation. They talked about maybe Jamal Roberts playing a little bit today. That never really happened. Mizzou was never really up by enough for that to happen. And see, people are going to complain about the offense going conservative in the second half, and I'll kind of give my take on that, and I'm sure you'll have some words about it too. I really do think it's just by design. We've seen it too many times this year where they do this and they kind of play with their food. They did it against South Dakota early in the year. They did it against MTSU. They hit some lulls against teams like Vandy and Memphis, but when they play teams like Kentucky and K-State, they come out swinging. The offense doesn't really get conservative, and I really do think it's by design because you could tell they were unserious when they ran like a Brady Cook quarterback draw on 3rd and 9 there in the second half. You could just tell they were play calling like they thought they had the game wrapped up. They weren't trying to show too much. They weren't, especially not before Georgia. Drink even said post game that this team isn't anywhere near the best it can be. And I think if Mizzou really you saw it in the first half. They were imposing their will on South Carolina, just destroying them like a team that knew that they were much better than the team on the other side of the ball. And I think if they wanted to do that the whole game, they very well could have. They just decided not to. Like once they went up big in the first half, that was like the game was over. South Carolina was never coming back. Mizzou knew it could win with a C-plus effort in the second half. And that's what happened because even when they truly needed a first down late in the second half there, they just threw a long ball to Luther Burden like it was nothing. And that's when they really needed it. And I think if they really needed to do that for the second half, or if they felt like they needed to, they would have just kept doing that. They would have kept putting the ball in the air, but they just leaned on Cody Schrader in the run game, and they won by double digits. So I get why people are frustrated. It's not fun football to watch when they kind of just cruise through the second half like that or put it on cruise control. But they're just trying to escape with a win and get to the bye week. And Mizzou players were kind of dropping like flies with injuries in this game. So it's understandable why Drink would kind of have that mentality in the second half. He knows he can beat this team with a C-plus effort, and he's just trying to get to the bye week.
For sure. Like you said, everybody was just kind of dropping like flies. Burden went out for a bit. Chris Abrams-Draine was hurt for a second. He seemed to be fine, though.
Johnny Walker.
Banged up, but he was on the field towards the end of the game, had some pretty good snaps. Hopper went into the locker room for a bit. He came back out. But, yeah, like guys were just getting a little bit banged up every now and again. And they were just you could tell they were up 24-3. They played pretty sloppy, and Luke Bauer dropped the punt. That was what got me kind of worried.
Yeah.
And I was kind of on edge for the rest of that third quarter. We really, when you were talking, I kind of thought about it. We really haven't had a good third quarter all year. Didn't have a good third quarter against South Dakota, MTSU, kind of K-State. That's probably your best argument, but we did most of our work that game in the fourth. Definitely not against LSU, not against Kentucky either. Obviously not today. Didn't have a good one against Memphis. We just aren't that good coming out of the second half, I guess. Kentucky, we were fine, but that was the only quarter we let up points in the second half. So we're just not the greatest team in the third quarter. And today I think it was more because we're much already, and we were just waiting to get to the bye week. We were obviously just trying to run out the clock, and it worked. We got what we needed to. Got the job done. Again, 7-1 going into Georgia. Can't be happier than that.
Yeah, more numbers. Luther Burden, 4 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. He got right back in the game early after kind of being quiet against Kentucky. Had that long touchdown. Mookie Cooper continues to be everything and more this year for this team. He had 6 catches for 57 yards, was very reliable. Theo Weiss got in there with a couple catches for 40 yards. Yeah, Missouri in total, they had 198 passing yards. They also had 418 total yards of offense, which I think I saw flashed on the screen for a second, but is the most yards of offense they've had in a game with Drake. I don't know if that's accurate. It feels like they've had more in other games this year. I don't think that's right. Maybe it was the first half. I think that might have been what it was. Most yards of offense in the first half. But either way, I mean, they went over 30 points again. They hit that threshold. Um, Balanced game offensively with the play calling. I don't love some of the QB draws that this team calls up, but they were effective for the most part today. I didn't like the one on 3rd and 9, but it nearly did get the first down. And again, the second half, I just think they really didn't care for it at all. You could kind of tell. I mean, the intensity it was way down. Um, Mizzou, though, they had 21 first down, 7 of 13 on 3rd down. That's decent. Um, yeah, I mean, offense did their job, but I think the defense definitely deserves the spotlight because even though South Carolina is terrible this year, their offense is still good. Like
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler, one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC. Xavier Legette, one of the better wide receivers. Obviously, he went out with injury today, but Mizzou's defense, they're starting to turn a corner. They're starting to look like last year's defense a little bit. They held South Carolina to 286 yards of total offense. Their rushing game was completely shut down. Spencer Rattler just under pressure, under duress all day. Drink even said in the post game press conference that the motto for this week was "Rattle Rattler." That's the goal, to rattle Spencer Rattler, and everyone was getting in on the action today. Darius Robinson, I know he split a double team to get a sack. Johnny Walker was making plays in the backfield all day long. He just
They were
continues to be awesome this year. You had a lot of blitzes. Blake Baker definitely brought the blitz a lot today, and most of the plays where South Carolina actually gained positive yardage, it seemed like it was a screen because South Carolina figured, well, we're letting pressure through anytime Spencer Rattler drops back, so we might as well let the pressure through on purpose and just get a screen in there and see if we can gain any yards. I mean, just he had no time.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that South Carolina's offensive line was bad, but holy crap, it was just god awful today. Uh, our our defense just was in the backfield every single play, and in that second half, we'd get there, and then there was a couple times Rattler would just scramble for a first down. I remember there was that one run, and then right after that, he threw the interception that kind of sealed it. But that run really kind of worried you because it's like, shit, if they get a touchdown here and get a quick stop, they could very easily tie this.
Mm-hmm.
And because Rattler threw an interception on the next play, probably because, and I thought about it, I didn't say anything, but after that run, it's like he just ran for 20 yards and you're going to make him throw a deep ball. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's going to be out of breath. It's not going to be 100% accurate because he's not that much of a running quarterback. But Johnny Walker was noticeable on almost every single play of this game. We had Drink said it at halftime, but there was just so many sloppy penalties that took sacks off the board. Like Johnny Walker had that face mask that would have been.
Yeah, and that was unlucky. He didn't mean to do that.
Didn't mean to do
It
that
was
was
whatever.
extremely unlucky play. But we had so many of those where it's like we had the defensive stats haven't come out yet, but we had at least 6 sacks on the day, and it could have been north of 10 if it wasn't for a few of them getting called back for flags. So defense did an absolutely phenomenal job today. Again, I did not realize that South Carolina's offensive line was this bad, so that might be more of a testament to how good Missouri's defensive line was. But the game plan on offense worked, kind of threw them off by running it nonstop because they were just waiting for the pass. And whenever we needed to pass, we were able to hit deep shots to Brayden,
Mm-hmm.
get a 3rd down conversion to Mookie Cooper, and Theo Weiss only had 2 catches for 40 yards, but he is still effective and did what he needed to do. This offense was firing on all cylinders for the first half, and so was the defense. Half of football that I have watched from an Eli Drinkwitz team was the first half of this game. Like just complete game all around, enforce their will nonstop. And then you go up 24-3 on a bad this year, but still respectable SEC opponent. They're not Vandy. They're still an SEC team, and you go up 24-3 in the half and look completely dominant on all fronts of the football. First half alone, A+, and second half, like you said, kind of like a C+, C- ish.
Yeah, they definitely proved themselves though as, an upper echelon team in the SEC. You could see that in the first half because if Mizzou was a fluke, this could have very easily just been a close game and South Carolina, would have threatened to win, but that never really happened. And Mizzou you saw it in the first half. Obviously, again, second half, a little bit of a lull. I think some of that is by design, but the first half, they just destroyed them as if it was like Georgia versus Kentucky.
Yeah.
And it's play like that makes me believe Missouri has a great shot to beat a team like Georgia after the bye week because they can just go on offensive bursts that not many teams in the SEC can. And I think they could have went on a lot more in the second half had they really tried. But I mean, they were 4 for 4 on scoring drives in the first half, and there just was no stopping them. They even tried to double cover Luther Burden, and he still caught the contested catch in double coverage. It was a great ball from Brady Cook, and this team's got a shot, man. They really do, and I love the way that they played in the first half. Like you said, it's up there for one of the best first halves they've played since Eli Drinkwitz has been the head coach because the game was pretty much put away by the end of the first. And I'm happy. I'm really happy that this is the football team we get to watch this year. And this is why over and over again, even last year through all the tough games, I'm sticking with Drink, man. Like I believe in this team. I believe in this coach. We've talked so many times over the offseason about how this team was 2 plays away from 8-4 last year. And sure, people can poke holes in that a little bit, whatever, go out there and prove it, which is why their motto was something to prove this year. But
yeah,
go ahead.
Missed field goal away from beating Auburn, and we were a play that literally had the rules changed by the AA play away from beating Kentucky. So
yeah,
two plays away from being 8-4 last year, and honestly, I'll go as far as saying 3 plays away if Cody Schrader gets 1 more yard.
Yeah, that was a tough one, man.
And
I wish we beat Georgia.
I honestly think that a lot of the guys are going to be so ready to play Georgia. Like they know how close that they were last year. They're going to be so amped up going into this game. I don't know if that's going to help or hurt us. That could very easily hurt us going into this game. But man, like if we were able to go into Athens and beat them, that'd be insane. That would, like, Mizzou would be the talk of college football. We would probably be in the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, a win over Georgia would be absolutely massive for this program.
Like, that is a program defining, like, this game against Georgia, and thank God we have 2 weeks to get ready for it. If we beat them, that is a program defining win.
That is a defining win for Coach Drinkwitz's career and what this team is capable of going forward. Because, again, because I was going on my spiel about Drinkwitz just a minute ago, I feel like the ceiling for this program with Eli Drinkwitz is super high because coaches matter, of course, but for when you get up to facing teams like Georgia or Alabama, teams like that, what matters more than coaching, and it's always been this way, is talent and getting dudes on the football field. And Drinkwitz can get dudes. We've seen that it's happening in this recruiting class. And if this is what Drink can do in year 4, and with all this recruiting momentum, I really believe the ceiling is super high for Drinkwitz in this program because he's having an absolutely fantastic year so far. 10 wins is on the table. If you can get 10 wins, start stacking these recruiting classes, bringing in 5 stars every single year. I mean, why not us? Why not us?
And I mean, it just look like there's nothing to do but look ahead at this point. Like almost every single post game I've gone over and I'm like, all right, let's look at the rest of this season. Like, let's look ahead. Let's look after this game. And Drinkwitz has just kept it at go 1-0 this week, go 1-0 this week. And now you have to go 1-0 against Georgia. And like, if you can just beat them, holy shit. So like, just even thinking about it, you can see that I'm just smiling at the thought of beating Georgia. But like, we've built the program up to a point where you think that Mizzou is a good candidate to pull off that upset.
Mm-hmm.
Like Georgia's going to be favored by like 13.5, rightfully so. But why, like you said, why not us? Something to prove. Like everything that Drink has built has been building towards pulling off a massive upset like this, program defining win. And then if you do that, if you beat Georgia, you can run the table for the rest of the SEC, and then you're playing in Atlanta.
And had this been next year, or had the 12-team playoff format been implemented for this year, Mizzou would be in the conversation for the college football playoff, and that's exciting.
And it's really exciting looking forward to next year because, again, talked about it multiple times. Our schedule is so damn easy outside of like 2 games, like home game against Oklahoma and road game against Bama, and then a road game against A&M. Those are really like the only 3 big games that it's like, okay, we might lose. But I'd still expect us, depending on where A&M is at as a program, that's a very winnable game. Depending on where Bama's at as a program, that's a very winnable game. So if you win, hell, as long as you win one of those games, you're a 10-2 SEC team. In a 12-team playoff, that's probably going to get you an at-large bid.
Yeah, I really wish that was this year. I mean, but I'm not saying we can't still go to an SEC championship game and have a shot. And, we were arguing with Connor, or I guess I should say, and he was saying how Mizzou shouldn't be married to Drinkwitz because it's like, your ceiling is only so high with him. But I'm thinking we haven't seen his ceiling yet. We don't know what it is. This year, he could potentially go to Atlanta for the SEC championship. Now, there's a lot that they have to accomplish first, and they have to take care of business for that to happen. But like, it's on the table, and we're in week 8. So, I don't think you should be
here. We're 2/3 of the way done with the year, and we're still in the conversation. Like the only people that can say that are Tennessee and Florida. Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, and Mizzou. Those are the 4 teams. Florida's probably going to be taken out of contention next week because they're probably going to lose to Georgia again. And maybe Florida pulls off an upset against them. That could very well happen because it's at a neutral site game in Jacksonville as always, and that's a massive rivalry. But if they don't pull it off, it's just Mizzou, Tennessee, and Georgia, and all 3 of them have yet to play each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because we got to play. We got to play Tennessee. Tennessee has to play Georgia. Tennessee has to play us, and then Georgia has to play Tennessee and play us.
Yeah. HFA Recon, nice to see you. He says, can't wait for my Sooners to play you guys next year. It'll be a fun game. Yeah. That's one I'm looking forward to, especially when we got Williams Winery on our team. And maybe David Stone, too. Maybe we could flip him.
Yeah, possibly. Wonder what gloves he's wearing.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw Ryan Wingo was wearing Texas gloves at practice the other day, so maybe he's going to Texas. I don't know. I cannot wait for Shane Beamer's press conference. I'm sure it's going on right now because that dude is an absolute crybaby. It was so funny seeing him on the sidelines. There was also a South Carolina player got hurt in the 4th quarter, and Shane Beamer helped him up off the field to the sidelines and was like hopping on one foot with him to the sidelines. That was hilarious. Because obviously, if you guys don't know, Shane Beamer broke his foot after kicking something after their loss to Florida last week, which I just thought was embarrassing and silly of a head coach to do. And then he tried to laugh it off, and it was cringy. But man, I'm just glad that he's not my coach because he really does come off as a phony to me. and just very annoying, very full of himself. Like, and then they interviewed him at halftime of this game, and he threw his players under the bus again. He's like, "We got guys dropping balls, players in illegal formation and stuff." Just like, you're the coach, dude. Like, be better.
But no, you saying all that reminded me of what Beamer said this offseason with, "Oh, I'm not going to
Yes.
the coach who I wanted to beat," and it was clearly Drinkwitz. And for us to just blow them out of the water like this and then just coast in the second half, get fucked. Like he probably got himself another year or two. And we're going to go down there and play in South Carolina next year. And I fully expect to win that game again. Like, I will fully expect to beat South Carolina until they prove anything.
Yeah, Eli Drinkwitz, he is Shane Beamer's daddy. He does not lose to him. I said, or I tweeted after the game because I found that clip where Shane Beamer did an interview with Barstool, and he was talking about which coach he would love to beat next year. And he was talking about a guy that, they've really struggled to beat. It could have also been Mark Stoops in Kentucky, but just it seemed like it was Drinkwitz that he was talking about.
Because
and
Mark
I said,
controversial figure. Like, people are very pulverized on what Drink says because he looks like a dork, he looks like a nerd, but he's cocky and he's confident, and he never really put up the stats, and now he's putting it up, and people do not like him.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that if he's not the coach of your team, you hate him with your guts. But if he's your coach, you love him as long as he's winning. And of course, he's winning this year. I mean, it got a little shaky there last year, but it seems like most people love Drinkwitz. He's a great ambassador for the program. I love what he's doing here. But Shane Beamer, he did that video interview with Barstool, and it seemed like he was talking about Drink, about a guy he'd love to beat next year. And he said that the coach that he wanted to beat this year was also a guy that he really wanted to fight, because they asked him that question right before too. And for Drinkwitz to go out there and beat him by double digits again, it's just hilarious. And it's like, maybe good luck next year, Beamer. And that's if you're still at South Carolina, because they're having a rough year. I think he bought himself some time realistically with the season he had last year.
Be at certain places. Sam Pittman.
Oh, Pittman and the Piggies. We should mention that they lost today. And my goodness, like some of the other losses, like Ole Miss and LSU, can just be explained away as tough losses against other good teams. Those one-score games, the ball just hasn't bounced their way. But losing to Mississippi State at home, that was an awful loss.
This isn't the Big Ten. This isn't Iowa. 7-3 at home is pathetic.
Yes, they lost 7-3. Like, Mizzou better not lose to that team at the end of the year. Oh, I would be embarrassed.
Who knows if
they're awful.
Piggy Pittman's still the coach?
I don't know if Piggy Pittman's going to make it to Black Friday this year. I'd be kind of surprised because they have to win out basically to even get to a bowl game. Yeah. And I don't think that's happening.
Auburn just got a big interception, and they're returning it.
Yeah, that's Cousin Shane's lock of the week, Ole Miss. So
it's 14-7 right now, but Auburn just got a massive interception, and they're in Ole Miss territory now. Jesus.
Yeah, that's Cousin Shane's lock of the week. Could have seen that coming. Poor guy. He's 1-11 this year, about to be 1-12. So I hope he locks Georgia against Mizzou next week. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be great. Honestly, like with how he does locks, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what he does. Also, my parlay is going, or my second college football parlay is going pretty good right now because I need Barry Odom to lose, or I need Colorado State to keep it within 8, but they're tied 3-3, and they are in they're second and goal on UNLV's 3.
Well, it's a great day for college football, ain't it, Brayden?
It's been an amazing day for college football. The Iowa-Minnesota game was a really good game. The Houston-Texas game was another really good game. There's just been a lot of really fun, really good games today. Ohio State, Penn State, that's always a good one. Not really, though. It was absolutely abysmal to watch, but it was a close game. And then
Mhm.
for me to just blow the ever loving piss out of South Carolina, it's just the cherry on top. Touchdown,
Yeah.
Colorado.
Dominant performance from Mizzou today, and the defense really seems to be turning a corner. 7-1 heading into the bye week, uh, just about as well as you could ask for. But you can't help but look back at that LSU game and think, man,
Yeah.
should have won. Should have won that one. Should have drove down the field, scored, won that game, and then you would have been 8-0. But it's all right, man. Got to keep your eyes forward, and this team has a chance to pull off a huge upset this week that would pretty much make up for losing that LSU game. So it's a tough one on the road. We'll see if Drink can get the guys up for that one. They have a lot of time to prepare, but one thing's for sure. It's great that we're not South Carolina fans right now because that program is
It's
in shambles.
great to not be a fan of literally any of Mizzou's rivals.
Yeah.
Like Illinois had a heartbreaking loss against Wisconsin today. Kansas is on a bye this week, but they look like shit against Oklahoma State. Auburn just scored, so yeah, cousin Shane might be screwed. Then Arkansas, like you don't even have to say anything about Arkansas. They've been a fucking abysmal train wreck this year. And then South
Mhm.
Carolina has been one of, if not the most disappointing team in college football.
Yeah. Them and Arkansas both really just rough years for them. Sir Smokes a lot says SC game plan on offense was shit. Mizzou did something on defense last year. Yeah, their OL sucks, but that's worse than any blunder Drink has had. No adjustments. Uh, okay. Are you referring to the second half offense, or am I reading this wrong about the blunder? What is he trying to say? I don't know. I mean, I agree with the first part though about their offense being terrible, and um, Mizzou did
I mean,
something on defense,
South
but
couldn't adjust at all. But I'll disagree. Um,
oh, I see what you're saying now. He said their blunder was worse than any Drink has had on the or I see what you're saying now. I see. For a second, I thought you were talking about Drink, and I'm like, what's wrong with Drink now? I thought we were singing the guy's praises this year, but yeah, their offensive line is it's not good, but I also think Mizzou's defensive line is just really great at exploiting a matchup like that, and they have dudes on the defensive line. Blake Baker, he likes to blitz, and also even last year when their offensive line wasn't nearly this bad, Mizzou's defense ate against them, and that was on the road too. Their offensive line almost reminded me of the New York Giants this year.
and my favorite teams have exploited both of those offensive lines.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, yeah. So like I said, I did not expect South Carolina's line to be this bad, and I think that's more of a testament to Mizzou's defensive line and how well Johnny Walker and just about everybody else has been playing. Because this defensive
yeah.
that they can get pressure when they need to. Georgia, I'm not really like I don't know how good Georgia's offensive line is going to be. I know that they've consistently produced NFL talent, but this year I just don't know how good their offensive line's been playing. I haven't watched enough Georgia, but I do know that like just looking at the scores and watching at least a little bit of that Auburn game, that this Georgia team is definitely not as good as they were. And if Mizzou's defense travels, like it doesn't matter where you are.
Mhm.
Is like if you have a good defense, it's going to play good anywhere. Um, so if our defense has truly turned the corner back and they are uh, back at the level that they were last year with the offensive we have put together, then yeah, again, we've said it like 100 times already, but like we are in a good spot to upset Georgia. I don't think we're going to win. I'm not going to predict us to win because it's Georgia. Never going to bet against them, but you got to think like just logically, the matchups that we have are pretty good.
Mhm. Yeah, it'll be fun. It's gonna be a fun matchup. I'm looking forward to it. I think we'll go ahead and wrap up this post game though. But
One
before we sign, go
Ty
ahead.
had a pretty good game today. I said in the pregame that I wanted to see him have a big game.
Yeah, he did.
He showed like the Tyron Hopper last year showed up and really Glad that he decided to show up. Gonna get healthy in the bye week. Then it's Georgia.
Well, Tyron Hopper, he's had a rough year so far. I think he's playing hurt. He did go out of this game with an injury for a brief moment. So maybe that's just a lot of pain that he's been dealing with this year, and maybe it just kind of overwhelmed him a little bit there, or maybe it was a separate injury. I don't know. I'm just theorizing, but he definitely seemed to be like the old Tyron Hopper just a little bit today because he got in there with a sack. He was making some big tackles, so it's good to see him playing like his old self just a little bit. But before we sign off, I'll ask you, where do you think Mizzou is ranked after this weekend of college football?
Ooh, I mean, it's going to depend on some of the games later tonight, specifically USC and Utah. But we're going to jump Tennessee because they lost to Bama for sure. Here, I'm going to pull up the top 25.
I have it right in front of me. So the teams in front of Mizzou are 19 LSU, 18 USC, 17 Tennessee, 16 Duke, and 15 Notre Dame. I would think because Duke is without Duke is with
going to lose to Florida State,
and they're without their starting quarterback tonight. I would think Mizzou probably jumps them. They drop a little bit.
Like we're jumping Tennessee, so that's 19. We'll jump Duke as long as they lose. And I think if USC loses, we'll jump them. So that's 3. That's 17 bare minimum. Probably just up to 17, I'd assume.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Something crazy could happen and LSU loses to Army or something. But I don't really see that happening. I know the game's going on right now. I don't even know what the score is. I'm assuming LSU's up already, though.
Yeah, 7-0, and LSU has the ball again.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd say they're about 17. But we'll go ahead and wrap it up there, guys. So, appreciate y'all tuning in once again. Mizzou moves to 7-1, and yeah, got the bye week. Time to get healthy. So. Brayden, got anything you want to plug? Do I even need to say it again?
Show Me Movies. If you guys haven't subscribed over there, make sure to go watch. Most recent video was a review of Killers of the Flower Moon. It's only about 5-minute review, but pretty good movie. Reviewing shit almost weekly at this point. Got a lot more stuff coming up. Josh, you need to start reviewing shit on there too.
I'm probably going to see the Five Nights at Freddy's movie next week, and then I'll review that. I think that'll be my first one in a while. But yeah, go subscribe to Show Me Movies. It's already down in the description. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Mizzou fans can find this. You can check out my work on showmefootball.com as well as here on YouTube. Some of our other Mizzou content, but that's all we got for this one, guys. We'll see you in the next one. MIZ.
DOU.